Hey fellow gamers, Chatty Sisa here. As I've briefly mentioned already in my previous Horizon and the Sony vs Tencent lawsuit vids, Guerrilla has announced towards the end of 2025 a new MMO RPG set in the Horizon universe called Horizon Steel Frontiers. The game was developed by NCSoft with cooperation from Guerrilla, and in the meantime we've seen not just the initial trailer, but also some gameplay including more insights from the game developers. So let's have a more detailed look at this new game. Horizon Steel Frontiers is a standalone game developed by NCSoft, best known for MMOs like Guild Wars or Lineage, and it is supposed to be a free-to-play, large-scale, cross-platform MMORPG which was designed specifically for mobile, iOS and Android, and for PC via NCSoft's Purple app. This is not seen very positively by many Horizon fans as they complain why it's not on PS5. However, I think this is because Guerrilla is also working on their own MMO in the meantime, which is so far known just as the Horizon Online project. That game could potentially be then a PS5 or maybe PS6 exclusive, but that is as of now pure speculation and I'm not really fond of doing that, so let's focus for now on Steel Frontiers. There is currently no official release date announced for the game, and as for other platforms, it also won't be on the Xbox Game Pass, PS Plus or Nintendo Switch. Whether you like MMOs or not, those kinds of games have a huge reach. Not to mention, mobile gaming helps open markets in developing nations where people struggle to purchase consoles or gaming PCs due to lack of funds or even the hardware's availability. People are forgetting that each platform, each type of game and each type of market can target different audiences, and this is an option for Guerrilla and by extension Sony to bring the whole franchise to new gamers. Therefore, I would not see this necessarily as such a negative thing. Some players are also not fond of NCSoft being the developer, as they fear a lot of microtransactions, for which the South Korean video game developer and publisher is admittedly quite known for. The question here is of course what will be hidden behind those microtransactions. Whether it will be, for example, key assets necessary to progress and develop your character within the game, or whether it will be just optional items like skins and so on. If you look at some descriptions and reviews online of NCSoft, you'll clearly find that the company is described as an industry leader in online gaming, known for supporting its games with new content and innovative monetization strategies, though sometimes facing criticism for its business practices. So those fears about the scale and level of microtransactions are completely understandable. But back to the game itself. Horizon Steel Frontiers is set in the same universe as Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West, as was confirmed by Guerrilla, and just like the original single-player games, it is based on real-life locations. Steel Frontiers is supposed to be placed in Arizona and New Mexico, which was also stated by the game devs in interviews that are available on a separately dedicated YouTube channel, for example. In-game, this area will be called the Deadlands. More details on the character creation and gameplay were specified also in an article by Space4Games. As for the gameplay, we will see here a few new mechanics. You can precisely destroy machine components, zipline onto exposed parts, set traps and trigger status effects. Weapons that machines drop during battles can be picked up, loaded onto mounts and used in other encounters. Combat emphasizes group strategy. Every role in the team matters and must be used tactically. Large battles involving multiple player groups are, according to NCSoft, a major part of the game. We'll meet in Steel Frontiers machines we're already used to from the previous Horizon games, and we can enter together cauldrons, which should be fun if more players are able to battle against the rogue machines rather than Aloy alone. Having to deal with a Thunderjaw in that enclosed cauldron space with just Aloy was quite excruciating, so having more help should make the fights definitely more fun. Regarding the main protagonist, the game has an especially extensive character creator, and you can build your own machine hunter with a wide range of customization options. At the start you choose from several tribes known in the Horizon universe, including the Nora, the Tenakt, Utaru or Oseram. Alongside standard options like face, body type, hairstyles and makeup, NCSoft promises a high level of detail. Your character's appearance can evolve over time and even be shared with other players. So much for the official descriptions. When I was looking through the feedback to this game announcement so far from the player base, there were a couple of points I have to agree with and a couple I completely disagree with. As pointed out by some gamers, Horizon Steel Frontiers looks very similar to the knockoff Light of Motiram from Tencent, for which Sony filed a lawsuit, which is an amusing situation, I have to say. Although we have to realize that Steel Frontiers is an official Horizon game that was approved and co-developed by Guerrilla and Sony and targets a specific market for which Light of Motiram would have been a competitor. And when you think about the other MMO, the Horizon Online project that Guerrilla are also still working on, you see that they want to cover all options for platforms and audiences themselves, and therefore would not have appreciated yet another third game within the same gaming niche that has the same or similar style, setting and in-game mechanics. A lot of players also say that Steel Frontiers resembles Monster Hunter Wilds a little bit too much, including those oversized swords that are out of place in a Horizon game. Yeah, shooting arrows at metal constructs isn't making much sense too if we look at the basic setup of Horizon Zero Dawn, but it's explained well within the game's universe. The Horizon games are trying to be close to reality in terms of combat physics, weapons and fighting styles within the given universe. I personally find these huge out of proportion swords or other types of weapons honestly ridiculously looking, and I'm myself not a big fan. But it depends on the type of game, of course, where you see this. For a pure fantasy game, and I'll just mention here for example the Dragon Age games, it is easily acceptable as this really isn't meant to be realistic. But in Horizon it is out of place for sure, and I'm not really fond of seeing that. Although, one reason for this feature might be simply the fact that the game is primarily releasing on mobile devices, and smaller weapons would be harder to see on the screen, especially when they're supposed to have some special effects or special looks. A big topic in the comment sections of the vids that I have seen and in the vids themselves by some other creators are the beautifully looking protagonists. And here a direct and already unapologetic response from my side. To those complaining about Chuds and Gooners, well, there are also female players who would like to play as a good-looking character, and if the good looks offend people's modern sensibilities, then I think they're not the target audience for this game. Although I'm sure such players will enjoy the looks of Intergalactic the Heretic Prophet or that man-face in Fable 4. And I'm sick and tired of these quotation mark gamers who get offended by a good-looking female character in a game. So for me, these beautiful characters here are a big win. And to those saying that this type of characters doesn't fit the Horizon universe, well, I beg to differ. Just because you're playing a game in a post-apocalyptic setting, it doesn't mean that suddenly there are no more beautiful women or, in general, beautiful people, and everyone becomes magically ugly. This is still taking place on Earth with humans as protagonists, and good looks on a future Earth are just as common and realistic as they are these days too. The characters are, by the way, fully customizable, and also here I'd like to address the mentions and criticism regarding the makeup and lip gloss in this game by some people, including certain YouTube channels. You guys do realize that the same feature was already available and visible on female characters way back in Horizon Zero Dawn, right? You can even pick different paint styles for Aloy's face, where especially the Karja face paints include lip gloss or mascara. This isn't anything new, neither does it mean that just because this feature is now offered in the Horizon Steel Frontiers character creator, that it's made clearly specifically for the Asian market. So you mean we're not allowed to have, here in the West, beautiful characters? And if there are any in the game, then that game is surely not for us? Because that's what I've heard and read some people stating, and I'm honestly just baffled by the sheer stupidity of such statements. These kinds of takes are exactly what's wrong with gaming these days. And here I will openly say that I was disappointed to hear this from some very specific creators who have built their whole YouTube channels based on the Horizon franchise. It's like they've suddenly got Alzheimer's and forgot what was already in the very first Horizon Zero Dawn game that is the base of all of this. I'd have expected from their side at least an acknowledgement of these features in the original games, when these people already so obviously dislike good-looking females in games and think that they're not for us. Well, if you prefer to play as an ugly Frankenstein with a man jaw and no makeup that fits your idea of a woman better, then go ahead and create one in the character creator. That's what it's for. I'm sure though that there's plenty of other players who will enjoy having the option to finally play as an appealing protagonist and use the options in the character creator to the fullest. But enough of my rants, let's go back to some other game features that I've also noticed. The graphics are fantastic for a mobile MMO, but it could be because of the PC port. While a lower visual quality might not be so problematic on mobile phones, it would be noticeable on a PC, so kudos here to the developers for paying attention to this aspect of the game. On the other hand, I honestly don't like the focus on the melee combat in Steel Frontiers, which I disliked partially already in Horizon Forbidden West. But this is a subjective take, of course. That's because I'm rather a long-distance hunter in Horizon, usually when playing as Aloy, and I'm trying to use the bows to the maximum without having to engage in direct brawls. The ranged combat was what drew me in the first place in Horizon Zero Dawn. Aside from this detail, Horizon Steel Frontiers has weapons and combat built on what was set up in Forbidden West, including the flying mounts, for example, or spike throwers, etc., which gives the player a lot of combat options, and that is a positive feature for an MMO, as with a more limited combat mechanics, the battles might feel repetitive after some time. Considering the fact that we can choose the tribe we want to belong to in the character creator, I was wondering whether that has any impact on your gameplay considering the interactions with other players. Is there a friend or foe system, for example? The next question is how the progression system will work and if the content will have enough variety. The world and the environments look very nice, but some gamers fear the game might lack content, both in the endgame and side content, which is a valid point considering that this is an MMO. So to sum up from my perspective, Horizon Steel Frontiers is not my type of game, meaning an MMO with microtransactions, and I'm not going to play it, but I really like the looks of it. The machines, the world and the environments are consistently aligned with the Horizon universe. Well, aside from the oversized swords, but I guess those are more prominently displayed because the game is mainly for mobile, as I've already previously mentioned. This is a game supposed to bridge the gap between the original trilogy games and before Guerrilla's own MMO comes out, that is expected then to be for PS5 or maybe even PS6, rather than mobile or PC. So different platforms and different player bases. Very similar to the idea behind the LEGO Horizon Adventures game, which was released by the end of 2024 and also targeted a different audience. Sony and Guerrilla are clearly trying to branch out into covering with the Horizon games all possible gaming markets and player groups, which is understandable considering how successful the franchise has been for them so far. I'll be keeping tabs on Horizon Steel Frontiers in the background just to see how it's doing over time. But my main hope here is that we'll finally get some more news this year regarding the highly expected Horizon free game. And also that this MMO is not an indicator for the future games that Guerrilla are moving away from ranged combat to more melee, because that's not why I fell in love with the Horizon franchise. But that's just my personal take, and I'm wondering, how do you see this new game? Is an MMO something that you're usually playing, and will you be playing Horizon Steel Frontiers when it comes out, or are you so far not really a fan? Also, what do you think about the game based on the trailer and the gameplay we have seen? Let me know in the comment section below, and in case you've liked the vid, don't forget to hit the like button and share it, it would be really much appreciated. Thank you very much for watching, stay tuned and game on!